5 seconds. 2, 1. You're live.
Good evening and welcome to the Town of Auburn Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, May 14th, now called to order at 7 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast live by local access programming. Is there anyone in the audience that's recording tonight's meeting? There being none, please rise and join us in flag salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to remind the audience, applicants, town administration, and planning board members to refrain from asking questions in regards to all matters discussed this evening without first being granted my consent. So the first item on our agenda this evening is the waiver request for ZPT Energy Solutions, LLC. Okay.
At this time, I'll recuse myself as vice chairman and sit in the audience.
Landscaping plan and lighting plan waiver. Landscaping plan 11.2, lighting plan 4.16. Good evening.
Good evening. Paul McLean, on behalf of the applicant, here with Kevin O'Neill from, or Kevin McGarry from Fuss O'Neill, who has our plans. He's the design engineer for the project. I'll let Kevin speak to the waiver requests. They're kind of self-explanatory, but
Yeah, so we're essentially requesting a waiver request for lighting, because there is no site lighting, so we can't do a site lighting plan. And same with the landscaping. We actually did end up proposing a small amount of plantings in the wetland area for the Conservation Commission. Those are shown on the site plans, but we don't have a formal planting plan per se.
and the reason is, we're high up on the hilltop, surrounded by, vegetation all the way around.
Did you have anything on that?
No, I mean, it's kind of standard thing. They want us to waive, we just need a formal vote if they want to accept all plantings. Being a solar farm, and generally they don't have lighting to the pipe. It's kind of redundant. And in this case, they're surrounded by vegetation, so it's up to the board, the pleasure to not add additional plantings around what's already planted, how many trees exist.
Well,
If they want to
it
take a
brings up
motion.
a good point, though, as far as the visual, and we had talked about this, John, as far as the trees that are up there 6 months out of the year. It's great, but, yeah, discuss planting some arborvitaes or something that's going to give,
Arborvitae's won't be the immediate cure, but that one will definitely take long to go unless they take it all day fly.
right.
And for the board's edification, there is a nice mixture. It's not just hardwoods up there, so there is a good layer of underbrush that canvases the whole property. So for those reasons, including the others, I didn't think it's really not necessary to put anything else in place to buffer views. It won't do anything.
Nick, did you have any thoughts on that?
No.
No?
No.
Anything further than?
I kind of got a kick out of the picture from the Mass Pike.
Well-
The Mass Pike, I mean, it doesn't really show anything. It shows you the trees along the Mass Pike.
Yeah.
It doesn't have,
For that one there, I mean, we picked that area just because it was the only clear opening from the entrance to those streets to the south. Otherwise, positioning on any of the streets, you were buffered by the homes, the vegetation surrounding those homes. So once I got out of that subdivision, you could see then you're still, buffered by all kinds of vegetation that surrounds the south side of the lake.
Well, we were really, when we asked you to go back and do some more outreach, we were kind of thinking about the people that live along the edge of the lake that are going to be looking directly at that
Yep.
array. and how it's going to affect them. So that's really the, the visual part of it that we were looking for. The Mass Pike one is kind of,
Yeah, views too, well, yeah, I
I would say the
understand.
view from the rear yard of 278 Bryn Mawr is a little bit more representative of what it is that they're actually going to see.
Yeah, the additional outreach campaign, covered all those people, including the subdivision on the south side of the lake itself, so I wanted to have at least a perspective on that side, so.
Is there any public comment on this proposal? Mr. Brooks?
Right, Ronnie Brooks, 425 Rochdale Street. I'd like to ask the board if they could have a similar condition that we had on the one that's across the street from where I am, where they agreed that they would do screening up to a 5-year period if we then requested it, and that they don't cut any trees on the west or southwest boundary of that array that exists currently, within where the array is going to be. And then, again, from Bryn Mawr Ave, when you're looking over, what are those trees that are immediately shown close to where the array is
Are
going
those
to be?
evergreens or are those
I'm not following the question.
hardwoods
Right,
in the photographs?
Probably better to show you.
Oh, in the photograph?
Yeah, the photographs you provided, are those
No,
evergreen
no,
trees
no, that's there.
Yeah,
that are being depicted,
But yeah,
Yeah, they're all a depiction of the vegetation that's currently there.
existing?
Yeah.
and this-
So,
John?
how far,
You want this?
we're looking at
Yes.
278 Bryn Mawr Ave. And at the top of the hill where the array's gonna go, I see like a bald spot that comes across.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I'm assuming that the array's going on the other side of those trees.
Which rendering are you looking at?
View 2. There's a line you can see right at the top of the...
Yeah, you can just see a sliver across the top.
Right, so how far from that sliver in the direction looking across the lake is the array gonna be? So does it go beyond that tree line?
No, the portion that you see there is all that's visible, so it's probably at that location picking up this part of that part. Yeah, it's probably picking up part of these ones here.
So then they will see it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a little sliver there, that's what it'll look like.
These trees here, Paul, as you're looking across the lake up at it.
Yeah.
The stuff that's close, what are those? Those plantings you're doing, or?
No, this is how he starts. He takes a plan view, based on a Google Earth imagery, and then he, he picks vegetation that matches, from a visual perspective,
Oh, you
and
put
he
those
starts
on there.
filling the picture.
You superimpose those aren't what exists.
Yes, yeah.
Right, because it almost looks like they're evergreens,
Yeah.
those are evergreens.
Well, the array is superimposed on what's existing today, right?
Yeah,
All the green exists today.
all the green
Oh, so
exists.
and what are these kind of trees here?
It's a depiction of what he's seeing in the visual here, and he matches it up so that he can fill in the picture.
That's basically what's
Like if you look, I did.
down here,
You can,
right?
you can do Google Earth shots. I mean, here's a shot I did from, the corner. That's a Google Earth picture, from the car. And then he does, this is just a little further up this, in the backyard of one of those residents, and you can see it's very similar. I had another,
So, my next question is, if I'm seeing just that sliver there, right? You have clearing to do behind that sliver. What's the difference in elevation between that sliver and the highest point of that array?
I think on that depiction there, that's represents what you will see
When it's fully built out?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and your question was the difference in elevation between,
The sliver.
this is
The
from the
sliver's on the
Bryn
left side, left portion of that. Those two arrays right there that you're gonna see in the sliver on this photo right here. So those are going uphill from there, correct?
Correct, but you're only seeing like the very top. So.
Yeah, there's
I
a
can pull
slight,
it. Let me
there's
pull
a
out the
slight
sections.
grade in the array from a high point here down the hill. And it's higher just yet again along here. So you see a small sliver of the
It's
trees
gonna
behind.
slope away from the sliver toward the other side of the hill.
Yes, it's there.
I gotta get a laser pointer.
So it's looking
That's upside down.
from here
What am I
up to the ray.
Yeah, I get
Right.
that.
And you're only seeing like that very top part of the ray. The majority of the ray is screened by all the vegetation that's here.
Right.
So I can show you like
Don't
what
you
the
have to-
section looks like.
Don't you have to clear that below
But only to this point here. It's all this vegetation here. That's, you're looking at the one from Bryn Mawr. Give me
the,
one
yeah,
second.
you too.
So the two sections that I'm about to flip to are from here looking at one looks at the northern array and
Yep.
one is looking at the southern array. So this is looking at the southern array. So this is Bryn Mawr over here.
Yep.
This is the water. And you can see because of the way that the topography works, it's the slope from here. If you were to like kind of draw this imaginary line,
Yep.
these trees, the tops of these trees are really blocking the majority of the view because the trees are very tall and the array is not.
So it's just the top half of the middle of
So
the
that's
panels
my
you're seeing.
question.
So you're seeing like
Right.
this part of the array, the rest of the array is screened.
That was my question. Where your finger is now, what's the difference in elevation between there?
From
and the
here?
top? Yep,
Say from this point here to this point here,
correct.
50 feet.
50. So you're,
And the
so
panels
in the
are 10 feet
from
high.
a distance, you know, a mile
feet.
away, you're seeing maybe 20 feet of the, 20 to 25 feet of the top of the array where it's visible.
This little top.
And the bottom half of the array is covered by the tree.
Correct.
So 25 feet, a mile away, looks like a little sliver in the
You can see on the
So that's more or
northern,
less the middle of the panels more than anything. It's not even the
No,
front
it's
half.
it's the curved edge of the panel, the
Right.
front curved edge of the panel.
right, and you can see from the southern array, because it's not as, this area's not as tall, you really can't see any of the, I'm sorry,
Right.
the northern portion of the
But
array.
even though that's a sliver right there, I'm wondering what the glare is gonna be in the middle of winter when, if those are deciduous trees on this side, how much more of the array we'll see and what the solar glare will be in the wintertime.
Seeing through the trees, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, again,
Yeah, I think there's enough
In the
vegetation
summertime,
there.
you know, I think everybody might be able to live with this, but in the wintertime,
I think it's gonna be fair, and I'm not trying to just like discount the brush or anything, but it's just, it's so far away that I don't know that your eye is gonna be able to perceive through the vegetation. I think it's gonna be broken up
I'll
enough.
tell you right now, if I stood up there with a hand mirror, you'd see it at this house. Without question, if the sun hit it.
well, the panels themselves don't necessarily have a glare to them. They're meant to absorb, you know, so,
No light.
yeah.
Mr. Brooks?
So again, I'd like to see a condition where that within, you know, here's the arrays and around them, that no trees are cut. And that
On that southwest corner?
on, well, it probably should be everywhere.
All the way
If we're
around it?
protecting everyone and look from Bryn Mawr Ave, because if they ever cut all of those later, that they'd be fully exposed. And that if I was looking at, you know, Paul took some of these out where I looked at where we saw them right in the face, but there are some in here, and I would just want to ensure that both sides don't get cut. They don't cut. And that if I did need screening because I cut the trees that are on my own property, that they would do it, and I'd have to decide within a 5-year period.
Nick, did you have some use?
That's the same condition
Well,
that
here-
was on.
So here's what we did for Mr. Brooks, I'll just pass that around. I sent this to Ron, months back, or I guess it could I go that long now. But the ones that are clouded are the portions of the array that we removed,
Right.
One, I might just point out this is a downhill slope.
Yep.
We took all these
Took all
out.
that.
Then the hill kind of curves around. I took, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows here because they were
Right.
on this side. And that allows us to leave, 250 feet of natural vegetation in place on the hillside. And so the rest of the array sits at the top and folds across it's a gentle slope down. It's not an aggressive
Right.
slope.
Well, what I mean, Paul, I think you know, is that along this, that these don't be, aren't cut, or that if they ever were, and I cut anything that's down here southwest of me, and my own trees don't buffer it anymore, that I won't be able to look at these, because I will see some of those. So
I
on
don't think
the
you will, though. Like
I know what
the
you took out.
topography just
I'm
doesn't
clear
support
on what
your
we took out, but
thesis. And by the way, like there isn't. We have a plan here that says we're going to leave trees in place. So that's the plan.
Okay.
Right,
So we don't have
Right.
we don't have a problem with
But I think,
committing that we
a
won't
5-year
remove.
contingency would,
Sure.
eliminate, any angst that there is about, those trees being removed,
if I cut my own, or if they cut theirs.
providing a buffer.
Yeah, I understand.
right, outside our current proposed limited clearing that's shown on the plan, I think, right?
Yeah,
Right, I think that would be okay.
That's fine. Yes.
To expound on that, I would say if there's any complaints within 5 years from across the pond, because in the wintertime they get in the glare or they don't like the look of it, you have to plant the arborvitae, so everybody's protected.
Put a couple of conditions on that.
That's all.
Okay.
Well, for the record, this additional campaign, not part of the ordinance, right? We sent out 90 letters, maybe it was. Quite an extensive list, not one phone call, in 3 weeks. And I don't know if there's anybody in the
I
audience,
did
but
ask, and I'm
Yeah.
not hearing from anybody. Yep.
so I think it's. I don't mind to deal with Ron here. He's here. We've tried to, satisfy him, but to satisfy people who don't
It is
answer,
part of the bylaw, though, too, that, visually, we have the final say
yeah,
as far as the visual impact on the neighborhood.
yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion with those conditions.
I'll make that motion.
Is that for the waiver, or
Pardon?
is that for the waiver?
Yeah, we
For the
do.
waiver. On the,
For the lighting.
well, for the lighting, we'll approve the waiver for the lighting, but on the landscaping,
Okay,
there'll be condition on the landscaping.
okay.
All
So,
right.
clear on.
We make two separate motions, so for the lighting plan,
I'll make the motion to give the waiver for the lighting plan.
Second it.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then on the landscaping, the condition that within the 5-year period,
Right.
to alleviate any of the issues that may arise from the solar array in the deciduous versus the evergreen trees, and if we need to add arborvitae to the plant,
To do some-
landscape plan during a 5-year timeframe. Okay?
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion on that.
I'll make the motion to move this forward with the conditions that Wendy just proposed.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Okay, EPT Energy Solutions, request for site plan approval under section 3.10.2.3 of the zoning bylaw for the use of a large-scale ground-mounted solar energy system on property located at 347 Rochdale Street, Auburn, Mass., map 29, parcel 7. Okay,
So, basically,
basically.
same deal.
Same.
Any other further questions from anybody?
Anyone in the audience?
Just one thing, Wendy, that you would condition it, that if that they would have to do the screening to, privatize my property.
Within a 5-year period.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be covered under the first one?
That's under the first one, under the
Yeah.
landscaping plan. Okay? So the site plan approval,
Close public hearing if you're all set on,
pardon?
close public hearing if you're all set on comments.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for site plan.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
ATS equipment, 710, right? Okay. Request for site plan approval under sections 8.2.3 and 3.2.7.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaw to allow heavy vehicular sales and a repair garage on property located at 487 Washington Street, Auburn, Mass. Map 57, parcel 21. Good evening.
Good evening. Attorney Todd Broder here on behalf of the applicant. With me tonight's Norman Hill from Land Planning, who's the civil engineer on the project, and Steve Connolly, who's one of the family members and owners of ATS equipment. When we were last before you, we described the removal of a garage, section of a garage, and the replacement of that with a new structure. There were some questions that came up with regard to drainage, pipes, etc. So we submitted a revised plan which shows the proposed piping, etc., and an existing conditions plan so that you could see what was out there now. So I can have Norman go through that in detail if you want, or if you want to just ask questions based on the submittal, take it however you want to
John, I'm
go.
going to defer to you on that one.
Gee, thanks.
I'm taking the lead.
Going to the second page, which I believe is your proposed plan.
Yes.
And my question is, where it says existing wash sedimentation basin,
Yes.
that's open to the rainwater, correct?
They have a large rubber mat that they cover that with when they're not washing a vehicle. So that's covered most of the time with a large rubber mat.
How do I know that? You can tell me that, till I'm blue in the face. How do I know they cover it instead of just washing down the driveway into it? Because that goes into the sewer, and we don't want to be treating clean water as a treatment plant.
Steve, do you want to run me?
Yeah, currently that's at grade, if that's what your question
It's
is.
a grate, but it's an open grate to rainwater if it's not covered. So there's no automatic, there's no hatch there that you close the hatch, where it would be almost waterproof. You'd have to run a drain out of the hatch, daylight somewhere.
But with the large rubber mat, the rain can't get into the grate.
That's not true. It's not impervious. It's not watertight. I don't know why you need that grate there. That should be a closed cover.
Well, that structure, when they wash down this vehicle, there's a lot of dirt that comes off the vehicle. So that structure is to capture all that dirt. And then they have a backhoe, and every couple of days, they take the dirt out of that structure and they throw it in the dumpster, and then it's exposed properly. So it's important to have that grate there, because, you know, they're washing down these vehicles, and that mud just falls into that, goes through the grate, and they trap it.
So why don't they bring it up to the catch basin, it's to the top left of that, and wash it down there? And I don't see any, I see one new drain come from the building, so I don't know how many floor drains are in the building, just one?
There may be two. I haven't seen the architect's plan yet. How many floor drains are going to be
That
there?
would be helpful.
Right now, we're planning two.
Two?
But they each go out to a gas trap. So those two floor drains will be connected to the existing gas.
No, I see that, and that's all well and good. And that should be a watertight cover on the gas trap. But my other question was, besides that being an open grate, if you put a hatch on it and drain it out the side, because all hatches have a gutter inside to catch rainwater, so it is watertight to vent, then I could say, okay, you gotta close it, you're not gonna leave the hatch open in the middle of the parking lot. A rubber mat just doesn't cut it for me. I don't know what Bill Coyle would say. My other question is, you show the vent, where does that daylight?
Well, the gas traps from the new building, that vent will go back and up the building side up towards the roof. So the new pipe that goes from the new gas trap will go out to the gas trap, and then it'll be vented back to the building and then up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the method of connection for the new 4-inch inlet from the floor drain to the manhole? There's no real detail on that.
Well, it's just the detail that shows it's a sealed, it's a watertight connection.
Doesn't say that.
No, but you've got the, see the docket area on the cross section there?
Yeah, that could be filled with mortar.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should be a corn sealed boot, like I said in the last
Yeah,
one.
it's a boot. It's a boot, rubber boot.
It's not what it says. So that'll be a condition of approval,
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's fine.
and the hatch will be a condition of approval, in my estimation.
Do we understand the hatch mechanism, just so there's no confusion? Do you know?
I'm not familiar with the hatch that you speak of.
Bilco hatch,
Or Bilco hatch?
yeah, or a runway hatch. Runway hatch would serve him better, because they're heavy duty. The Bilco hatch, you're gonna bend it when you plow the driveway in the winter.
So it's elevated above the paved grade,
Nope, it's even.
it's built in.
It's built in, but even when you're washing down vehicles, you really don't want to be filling your gas trap with dirt. That's meant for a catch basin to settle out and not a gas trap. And I doubt if it gets cleaned out once a week.
Well, they have a yard man, they have a guy assigned to the yard. That's one of his duties, is to keep that mud out of that
How does he
trap.
remove the mud out of the
That's the
manhole?
hatch, right.
Well, he removes it from this
Existing
wash,
gas traps.
from this wash pit. He removes it with a backhoe. I mean, the grates, they with the chain, they take the grate off.
Now you're really telling fairy tales, because there's no way a backhoe bucket's gonna fit in there.
No, they
He's
do.
either gonna
It's-
do it
it's-
without-
It's almost as big as this table. It's almost as big as this table. So they take the grate off. I've seen them do it. They take the grate off, scoops it into the dumpster,
Then you can do
put
it
the
through
grate
a hatch.
back on. So it's best to keep all the dirt right there rather than have it go out to anything else.
Well, it really wouldn't go out to anything else, because the way the grade's shown here, it should drain down to one of the catch basins. That's why I said if you bring the equipment up to the catch basin up near the building and wash it down, it stays in the drain system, and you can clean out from the catch basins. So if, I don't see washing a machine with grease and everything else into the gas trap, because yeah, oil is lighter than water, but grease isn't, it'll sink to the bottom. So when you take that out and you throw it in a dumpster per se, where does that grease go?
Where does the dumpster go the other time?
So we have 4 locations. And wash the equipment, the dirt and the oil and everything goes down into the pit, I'll call it. And there's a grate on top. It's probably 6 or 8 feet by 10 feet long. Take the cover off, scoop the dirt out with usually a grading bucket. If the operator's pretty good, you can use another bucket, but usually a grading bucket. And we have a dumpster that is only used for dirt. So we put it into this 10-yard container, and Sin Environmental will come and take that 10-yard container, and we have to provide a soil sample to Sin Environmental, who was purchased by Clean Harbors recently. They come, they take this container away, and they do their environmental thing with it.
They make you sign a manifest?
They give us a receipt, and they're the same company that picks up our oil filters, and same company that would, every now and again, they would come and they would suck out the drains. And they would come with the Vector truck and suck out the drains, and they do this at 4 of our locations: Dorchester, Rehoboth, Auburn, and Candia, New Hampshire.
Generally, when you're taking hazardous material out, like oil and grease, you're the generator. You have to sign a manifest, and it shows who's picking it up and where it's going.
I understand, we have an EPA generator number with the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. So every time something leaves our property, and the number is based upon the address. So the prior owner had a DEP number as well, Mr. Murray, and we took that over. And when something leaves our property, they report it to the Department of Environmental Protection, and they give us a slip and a bill. This
I'm
is
sure
how
you get
much.
the bill.
They give us an invoice, I know that, and they tell us how much they took and what they took. And most times I have to provide a soil sample to them, and now they kind of know the drill now, they know what they're taking now, but generally you have to provide a soil sample, they test it, and they tell us what they took.
Now, on the slip that they give you, is it called a manifest, or is it just a bill? A number of yards that they took out, or?
With all due respect, I kind of leave the environmental stuff to the environmental company. I mean, I'm not quite sure what they give me, to be honest.
It's usually a manifest every time they come.
I presume, I mean, it could be a manifest for all I know. I leave the environmental work to the environmental people.
I think what John's saying with the manifest, it protects you too, and you know where
It
it
does
went.
protect you.
Right.
Because if there's ever a problem with it, wherever it's going, it'll come back to you, or you could be one of the generators that it would come back to.
Understandable. And I know they give us a manifest for the oil filters they take. They tell us how many they took and where
Yeah.
it went, and a little slip, and then an invoice with that as well.
They probably take it to one place, it sits for a while, and then they get a load, and then they take it out to the Minerva or whatever they take it. It might be New Hampshire, it could be turnkey.
So let's get back to the other questions that you had. Are you satisfied with the answers that you got?
I'm
Or
satisfied
do you
with,
think we should have them come back
no.
one more
I-
time with the corrected information on the plan?
No, I think that if we put the condition on that it's a core and seal boot for the 4-inch inlet, that's fine.
And that they do
The
a
vent daylights at the
Bilco
building.
or
I would say
the runway,
they can do whatever they want as far as the hatch goes. I really don't care as long as it's 820 loading,
as long as it's not a rubber mat?
as long as it's not a rubber mat. That, to me, that doesn't cut it. It's not on straight, rainwater's going in, it's going into the sewer. With the new regulations on the plant, it's more they don't need to deal with.
It's just a door or something that lifts up
Yep.
in a hatch.
It sits level with the ground.
Some sort of sealed hatch so that
It's a
rainwater's
sealed
not getting in there when it's not in use.
And this is like a metal hatch,
Yep.
like a spaceship type of hatch?
It's, well, give me a second, I'll show you.
I'm guessing they have all sizes.
Yep.
You'd have to do a little poking around to find out
Probably
which.
similar to a bulkhead, but level with the
Level
ground.
with the ground?
Yeah, it's even with the ground.
Where we put the equipment on the hatch.
Well, you open the
You
hatch,
open it up.
and then the grate's exposed.
The challenge I would envision with this hatch is that we have equipment. And if we open a hatch, then we can't drive the equipment over without hitting the hatch structure. We have machines that are, small machines and big machines, and we drive them and move them around. And if we have a hatch, we can't get the machines on tracks. The majority of the machines on tracks, quite a few on wheels. And if you have a hatch system, we can't get the machine, unless it's closed. We could drive it if it's closed, but if it's
Right.
open, we can't get the hatch system.
You can't drive it over when you're digging it out either. So what's the difference?
Excuse me?
Oh,
Take the grate out to clean it out.
yeah,
Correct.
Can't drive over then either.
no.
So
Well,
why would you have the hatch open unless you're cleaning?
we could drive over the grate system. It's like a sewer hole, it's like a manhole cover.
I understand that.
Can you carry the hatch,
Understanding
can
me.
you carry the hatch to one
No.
side? It's hinged, right?
It's hinged.
Yeah, so would we damage that structure as the machine drove over it? Would
No,
it-
you gotta get one that's H20 loaded.
Oh, I see. So the hatch is strong enough, it won't damage it? The
You
machine
drive
won't
over the
damage
hatch if it's closed. You wouldn't have it open unless you were cleaning it, right?
it. Would we damage it if it was open?
My point, sir, is that our machines are such varied sizes that when you open the hatch, we'd have to drive over it. We have big machines that would damage this hatch.
Why would you have it open unless you're cleaning out the manhole?
Oh, we have it open to clean the machines.
Yeah.
So we open, it takes the rubber off, machine drives over it, they hose it down, wash it down. The mud falls into the grate.
Well, I would assume you'd be cleaning the equipment between the hatch or the grate and the building, correct?
No, they clean it right on top of the grate. They park the machine right over the grate and wash it down.
Then all the grease and stuff isn't going in the grate.
Well-
That's impossible.
Most of it does. Most of it does go into the grate.
It doesn't matter if most of it does, all of it has to by law.
Well, if it doesn't, then it'll go down to the gas traps or to the oil separator further down on the site. There's an oil separator further down on the site before it goes to the infiltration system. Everything's captured and everything goes to the cleaning devices just before the infiltration system. So if they're catching, 90% of the grease and oil up here in the dirt, the rest of it's captured by these devices down here before it gets into the infiltration system. But it never leaves the site.
Well, it leaves the site through the sewer main.
Well, that's true, because there's an overflow out of that trap. There's an
yeah.
overflow but that goes to the gas trap.
But I don't see anything down here in your other structure with the 2 manhole covers. It tells me that's a gas trap. And that can't go back into an infiltration system. Because any grease that goes down there, there's no catch basin right there anyway. So any water that drains down through there is going to drain all the way down to the next catch basin beyond
this is up.
your,
But then that's piped back.
Somebody's at that.
That's piped back
to the drain manhole, and then it goes through.
Right,
But
right.
you can't have grease and oil coming from a machine that doesn't make it in the hatch all the way down and then go in an infiltration system, because now you're putting oil and grease in an infiltration system. You can't do that.
No, we have separators between that drain manhole and the infiltration
Where's the
system.
separator? I don't see a separator. I
You see that rectangular shaped item
Yeah, I
right?
see that, but
right
it's
there?
not labeled as an oil water separator.
It is though, it is.
And if it's an oil water separator, the water has to go to a sewer main, not into an infiltration system.
No, it traps the gas and the oil in the unit. See,
Correct.
all right, and it can't get to the infiltration system. And then once a year,
If
he has his company come with a vac truck and they vac it clean.
If that's the case, then why do we have a gas trap up above? Why don't you just pipe that into the infiltration system? Doesn't matter, you have a gas trap, it's just gonna settle out.
No. This facility, this infiltration system,
It's for rainwater.
takes all the rainwater from the site. All the
Correct.
rainwater. And some of the, maybe 5% of when they're washing down the vehicle comes here as well. It's all cleaned, all captured by these catch basins at the low end of the site. It's all piped into these cleaning units before it goes to the infiltration. This doesn't go to the sewer system. None of that rainwater goes to the sewer system. But this wash pit, which is over here, that's...
I know it goes to the sewer system,
It does.
but if you have a gas trap down there, an oil water separator,
Yes, sir, there
a
is.
rectangular thing,
Yeah.
that has to go into a sewer system, not into an infiltration
No,
system.
because this is handling all the drainage from the site.
I understand that, it's more for sedimentation.
Well, it also captures the oil and it protects this
You
infiltration.
cannot put oil and grease in an oil water separator that goes into an in-ground infiltration system. That has to go to a sewer. You can't do that.
On every site that we design, we have to, by law, clean the water coming off the parking lot. So at the bottom end of every site, we have a storm scepter, which takes mostly sediment, but it also has an oil and grease separator.
Usually takes the garbage out and the sediment out. I've never seen one take out oil and water, but
Because the outlet structure is hooded down.
I know what it looks like.
Goes down under the water, so the oil and gas are trapped up top, only the water can get out. So he has a vacuum truck come in once a year, and they skim off whatever oil or water is trapped on top. So only the water goes to the infiltration system.
So what happens when the water level gets so low and now it's below the hood and then you get a flood? It goes right up the hood and out.
Once it's filled, it would stay filled. The structure stays filled.
Don't.
It doesn't leach into the ground.
I know it doesn't leach in the ground, but if you have a dry spell, it's going to evaporate out of the manhole. And now your oil's down below. Oil doesn't evaporate.
Well, I was there last week when this was opened, right? And there was a little bit of oil on top, and they vacuumed it off and disposed of it properly.
That's fine.
And so That's standard procedure on these sites.
My main concern isn't that one, it's the open grate with a rubber mat over it.
Well, I
That's not
understand.
watertight.
I
If you can
understand.
come up with a style of grate that you can make watertight, whether it's a plate, you have plenty of equipment, for a plate with a rubber gasket on it that bolts down, I don't have a problem. The rubber mat doesn't cut it. I'm only giving that far, and I don't think that's too much to ask.
Yeah,
They must make something.
So,
may I?
let me just go back for a second. So we talked about a core and field boot on the detail plan.
Correct.
And we're talking about some sort of hatch on this existing wash
Well,
sediment basin.
You made a good point. If he's bringing a piece of equipment, he puts it over the grate, you really can't do that with the hatch open. It's gotta be something that you can just pick up and move like he does the grate,
Right.
or the rubber mat.
So a watertight seal on that so that when it's not in use,
Correct.
besides the mat.
No, you wouldn't even need the mat.
That's what I'm
It's a
saying.
steel
So
plate
This
with a
this is a
rubber
replacement
thing
for the mat.
Right, that bolts down in, I don't know, 6 locations.
May I?
I mean, it would take 2 minutes
Sure.
to take it off.
When we purchased the property in 2008 from Mr. Murray, we went to great lengths and great expense to do everything that was required and everything that was asked of us. And we did that. And we had a very expensive, very detailed system that was designed, that was approved, and that we went with. Now we want to tear down a garage and replace it with another garage. And somehow the system that we approved and designed and was essentially mandated by the town is being called, in a sense, it's being called inadequate. I understand that, all of us can do better, but I'm having a challenge as a business owner and, as someone who did everything that was asked of him to come and design something else. We deal with the Boston Water and Sewer Commission in our yard in Dorchester. We deal with the Rehoboth Water and Sewer. We deal with the Water and Sewer in Candia, New Hampshire. We're looking at a 5th location in Connecticut. We essentially go to the towns and we go to the water and sewer departments and we go to the drainage people and we say, what do we need to do? And when we, with Todd's help and with Norman's help in 2008, this is what we did. It seemed appropriate, it seemed like it was what we were asked to do, and it certainly was. I will do my very best to find something that, that keeps the water from going in there. I understand that the challenge we have. A hatch, I have not seen a hatch system, and I visit a lot of contractor yards on a daily basis. If there's another type of cover that we can use on this on a nightly basis, we'll certainly explore it. But and not that it's your problem, but we did go to great expense to do exactly as we were told to do. And, we do take pride in being a business that does what we're asked, and we think we're very cooperative. And I will do my best to find something. I sit on the board of the Utility Contractors Association with a group of water and sewer contractors throughout New England. I will see if they can come up with it. We have friends in MWRA and Boston Water and Sewer, and we do business with all these entities. So if there's something we can find that will, satisfy that, we'll be happy to do it.
What are the dimensions of the grate?
I apologize that I don't have them. I'm going to
Roughly.
suggest that it's 6
Oh,
feet by 10 feet. 6 feet wide, 10 feet long, or 8
Okay,
feet long.
So 1/4-inch plate, you weld 6 nuts into the grate. You put a rubber gasket around the outside of that plate, steel plate, and you bolt it down when you're not using it. And you put a ring on the top to pick it up. Might cost you $1,000, if that.
If there's such a,
You may have to you may just have to have it made.
we may have a business opportunity here. If there's such a thing, I mean, I'd love to sell it to others as well. I've never seen it. Try. We'll certainly do our best. I mean, I understand the issue. We'll certainly do our best. And if this is something that we can do, maybe we can market this as well.
And John would have the patent rights.
That's right. But we're here to do what we're asked to do.
No, I'm not saying
Just
you're not, I'm not
within
saying you're not
reason.
trying to do the right thing or anything else.
I understand, I understand.
That was 11 years ago that this was done, right? Do you realize the restrictions they put on the Upper Blackstone treatment plant in the past 11 years to the tune of possibly $230 million in upgrades?
I would suggest that our family business is on a little different scale than the, you know, I'm sure they have engineers in-house that could design these types of things. I'm not there yet, but, you know, we are on a, you know, we're a family business.
No, I understand.
We do what's asked of us, and we try to the best of our ability.
Okay.
Todd?
We're gonna agree to the condition that we get some mechanism there that's a watertight replacement for the rubber mat.
Yes, we'll do our best. I don't know what this, it's hard to agree to something that I don't know exists, but we will do our very best, and we'll use our best efforts to design something.
Does that marker work over there, Adam?
Yeah, I put it there
You want me to draw it up for you?
Say that again,
You want me
please.
to draw it up for you? What I was talking about?
I have an idea. I would suggest to you that it's going to look great on day one, and after the first winter, it's going to be a challenge rubber gasket system.
They have watertight manholes everywhere with rubber gaskets. They work just fine.
So other than that?
I don't have a problem.
With anything
No.
else, okay. Nick, did you
No.
have any further?
No.
Mr. Brooks?
No.
Okay. So, here's the hearing.
Yes.
Entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll entertain a motion to approve with the conditions that there be some kind of a waterproof gasket cover for that drain that they use to wash the equipment.
There's another avenue you can do that's even simpler. You have the grate that comes out, right? That comes out.
Yeah.
So when you're not washing equipment, you just get a plate with a rubber gasket on it and set it where the grate goes. So now when you want to wash your equipment, you pull the plate up, set it aside, put the grate in.
Right.
Now you can drive over.
All you
Simple.
need is a plate there with
A rubber
a
gasket,
seal.
that's it.
Plate that'll support the.
Goes on
Yeah.
there, goes on there when you're not using the washing pit, when you're washing it. Pull that thing off, put the grate on, wash away,
Done.
put the grate off, put the thing back on. One more step in the operation.
So that pit right now has a lip.
Just the,
For the grate. Whoops, I did that wrong. Has this lip for the grate. The grate sits on that lip.
Okay.
So if you get a plate that sits on that same lip, you just get a gasket.
Maybe the condition would be when not in use, when the wash plant's not in
that it
use.
should be covered and watertight.
Within a-
Whether it's on top of the
grate.
grate or whether the grate's out, I don't know that we need to
With an
go to that, but
impervious-
put the,
Yep,
An
watertight.
impervious structure.
with an impervious structure.
No, it won't.
No.
It fits right inside the lip.
Yeah. So it goes on at the end of every day.
If anything, it'll be a little bit below your frame,
Mm.
which won't cause a problem.
okay?
All right. Entertain a motion with a condition.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Did-
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we move, under discussion items, I'm going to move to the Bryn Mawr Estate subdivision. We have people here for the Bryn Mawr Estate subdivision?
Scoot up for 2 minutes.
Sure. Just going to, well, seats are changing. Wow, that was contentious. Jesus. Is this something? Good evening. Introduce yourselves.
Well, I'm not a skier. Jason Martino from 4 Amherst Drive. Sorry, just had eye surgery.
Oh, okay. If you could remove the hat, though.
Oh,
You can
yep,
leave the
not a
glasses on,
problem.
but-
You got it.
Melissa O'Brien, 25 Briarcliff Drive.
Kevin O'Brien of 25 Drive, Briarcliff Drive. Close
Long
enough.
day?
I just had tongue surgery.
So, I'm gonna turn it over to Adam. He can talk.
So myself and our town engineer, Bill Coyle, spoke to our town council. Town council recommended you look at a civil option. There's not a whole lot of options we could find for the town to take. We are kind of limited because it's not the town property at this point. You purchased the property from the developers. There's an easement, but the town doesn't own that easement yet. That still belongs to the developer. And we thought it might not be possible to use the bond, which is normally used to maintain the roadway, on a drainage structure. So we don't think that is the council didn't think that was an option. So unfortunately, at this point, we don't see much we can do to help you out. It'd be probably best for you to look at a civil matter.
The bond is not an option.
It's normally used for the roadway. and not
Normally
the
used for the
drainage.
roadway, but isn't a bond typically put up by the developer to mitigate?
The roadway, not necessarily the drainage.
It specifically says the roadway?
That's what my understanding is from town council is going to use it for drainage.
Well, I think going forward, I mean, this needs to, I think, is something we should be reviewing as well, because a bond, in my mind, is to mitigate
That's the exact thing.
issues created by a developer, whether it's with a roadway or a drainage system or, any other issues they create with their development. So that's what they said, just for the roadway.
Do you have a copy of that bond?
Not with
Exact
me.
bond?
Not with me.
But you do have one.
There should be one in the file somewhere.
Can you make a copy of that for me?
Yeah, I'd like to see that too.
The drainage system that they would like to have put in their yard would have to connect to the drainage system in the road to be removed
And
from
he
the
said
site.
they don't have the right to go on it because the town doesn't own it yet.
No, but the developer does.
Yeah, but
What
he'd
I'm
have to
saying
do it on
is-
his own.
If the drainage line connects to the road, ergo it becomes part of the drainage system in the bond.
But if the drainage isn't causing a problem to the road, we don't think it's causing a problem to the road. We don't have
Yeah.
that choice.
That's a yet on that one. I think.
Yeah, even since the last time we spoke, the erosion is kind of going at an exponential pace at this point. Even after the fact that the last time we spoke to you, I had a hole open up in my yard. And literally, it started out this big, got this big, now it's like this big, and it dumps out underneath my hill about halfway down, and then it comes out off another part of the hill, basically going down towards the drainage, and it's same things happening now up where my arborvitaes are. There's another hill, like where you saw all that sunk in, it's happening now
Would you be
farther
able
up
to
the
bring
line.
the property?
Sure.
Like, I don't know what to do if it keeps on going the way it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a huge
Is-
problem,
I think we,
problem.
yeah,
Is
and
that-
again, that's, it clearly, we're being advised by
word.
town council that would be a civil. However, I'd love to see the language on the bond.
So would I.
Yeah.
Why don't you
What?
make like 5 or 6 copies, Adam? So
Melissa,
everybody
did you?
I just wanted to point a clarification, and I apologize that I don't mean to put you in a difficult position between reiterating what council has advised, but from a point of clarification, this is not our first time in front of this board, and I realize that some of you have changed, but we have a long history of coming to this board to address multiple water issues, and I think that you guys have done a fabulous job of working with Gallo. They are not an easy group to work with, but we have raised this issue repeatedly for many years now. and we have asked for your help to make sure that these properties are being built to plan and being built with a solution that satisfied what we identified close to 5 years ago as a problem. Because the water wasn't draining, and there was no, as far as we lay people could see, no intentional plan to deal with the water drainage issues, other than, quite honestly, what seemed to be a wink and a nod from Gallo to say, we've got it taken care of. So we have repeatedly come to you to ask to make sure that this was done to plan, to address the drainage issues, to make sure that the design was appropriate, so that this exact issue that we are having, and with all due respect, we have not gone to our other neighbors to see who else. We just know because Jason is right behind us and we have mutual interest in this. But so you're telling me that after us coming to you for years, asking for your help before these all became privately owned lots, to get this drained properly, and the planning board accepted, I don't know what your conversations with Gallo were, but you basically accepted whatever he told you would be a solution, and now that solution isn't working, and we are told that we are just left to deal with it civilly, and that it's our problem, basically. I'm just trying to seek a point of clarification here, because that
believe that's
seems
what
a little
Adam
bit
just said.
harsh.
Well, it's not meant to be harsh, we're just him, kind of, by what we have our authority of what we can do. Part of the problem was the plans that were done, originally presented 10 plus years ago when this subdivision was started, at least this section. And even today, the drainage was built for the roadways, the impervious structures, but they weren't, the housing lots weren't built for drainage. So when the contractor comes and builds a house, drainage isn't taken into account, so it's difficult to, they don't.
The town engineer would do a lot of the accepting or work with Gallo, be the one. We don't individually go up there and
Right.
work with him. He looks and says, okay, this would be acceptable. And then Caleb, the code enforcement, he does his part. And it's almost like, he can make the town engineer and others aware of problems that he sees, and I'm sure he would. But each one has their own purview, and it's just not a nice place to be in. We, I think, all sympathize with how you are, but we asked that they would talk with the town council last week to see what options we would have. And you're fully reasonable to the maximum on what you just said and what it looks like to you from a private citizen, because I'd be the same way. I would be up in arms. But there'd be also, we don't know what to do. We talk to the town. That's why I want to read that and have it looked at myself to see if it's being interpreted the right way. I'm going to see what I think.
May I?
Sure.
Can you just zoom in on this? I just want to reiterate, because since our last meeting, I did go back and reread the communications between the town planner at the time, Adam Burney, I believe it was. I've worked with Caleb Moody, Adam Burney, and one other.
Oh, Matt Benoit.
Matt Benoit.
Because Adam was, well, he might have been there in that 10-year period.
So if you can just move this up a little bit, move this up to here.
No, the other
The other
one.
one.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And one more, so this is what I call the lagoon area, and this is the property that is still not finished, which is going to cause more problems for this house as soon as it's sold from Gallo to the buyer of the property.
I don't want to interrupt you for a second, but if he increases the peak runoff from that lot to the next lot down, he's in violation. I know you have drainage now, but if he increases it, you've got a leg to stand on anywhere.
Well,
can't do that.
and I only know it because this is where the lagoons were that I filmed, which took on 4 feet of water during rainstorms. And when I initially came here to present, what I saw was what transpired between May of 2014 and July of 2014. This house was being finished. Gallo owned this property and this property. Um, It was, at the time, I believe Matt Benoit who came out, and Gallo was going to finish this driveway. He put a stop work order on the whole development.
I believe that was Caleb Moody.
I'm sorry.
Just a point of clarification, yep.
Because he knew that this was not going to work for runoff. And Gallo ignored it. He left, Gallo came in, paved it, and eventually put riprap down this entire stretch. And this is, again, will Gallo own these properties, not private residents. After that, we came in, we presented the water issues and how they were going to affect us. We showed water pooling here. You guys communicated with Gallo, I believe you had him in here. I don't know what the conversations were, but after that, he did remove the riprap here. He had promised to slope this to building code, which was 2:1, I believe. And he promised to put a wall in here to control the runoff. He later reneged on putting the wall in and said that the lip that they put on the driveway would take the swale that they put in here and move all the water down this driveway here, down here into the drainage, which runs through the easement all the way over to here. This driveway is now settled downward at an angle, and the lip that was on there is now degraded, so that's actually forcing the water into our yard. The year after he came in front of you, he came here in 2014 and 2015 at the request of this neighbor who didn't like the swale. Gallo went in and removed the swale. So now all the water that was building there, our worst fear, is just coming straight down here. In 2016, I had Bill and then Matt at that time out, and we showed them that, and I said I feel really badly for whoever's going to build that lot and that lot, because all that water is going to end up down here. And sadly, that's Jason and his wife and Sean, who's not here with us tonight. But I think, looking at it in that historical perspective, it is hard for me to hear you say that this is a civil issue, because it seems to me that you're suggesting that it's a civil issue between us and our neighbor, and it doesn't feel right to me.
So,
I don't know what to say.
my question is this property historically has always had a water issue. How can they sell this property to Gallo and not have, they say, well, they don't worry about water runoff when they do all this stuff. Well, if there's been a historical issue all along with it, how is runoff not accounted for during this development? So now,
And that's one of the things that Bill Coyle brought up, was that, as part of the plan, there has to be engineering for, the water, how the house is sited, and what effect it has. I do know, like John said, the law is that you cannot create water issues above what was existing.
Or you can't direct water onto
And you
somebody's.
can't direct water onto somebody else's property.
I'm-
I'm going to ask Adam that we have a sit-down to discuss this further.
I have one question. How much of the water runoff is carrying dirt out into the street?
oh my God. I can show you,
No,
I have
just
a million
affected the road.
videos to
It
show
just
you.
affected the road.
It just affected the road.
Well,
And
I think we really need to
Like, if,
maybe have a meeting with the board and the town and council and Bill,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
at least for some clarification on our for us.
Sure.
The
Madam
town
Chairperson?
can't go into
Yeah.
private property, put drainage in, unless you're all willing to give up an easement.
I already have one that
Well,
runs through
With
my
the
entire
developer
yard.
or with, well, with who?
Well, it was
It's currently with the
currently
developer.
with the developer. I mean,
Correct.
when I bought the property, it wasn't even, I mean, it wasn't brought to forefront knowledge that we were buying a house with an easement on it. You know, not until we were walking around after, well, it's not our property, we can't go on it, because we're trespassing on Gallo
It
property.
should have been addressed at the purchase and sale. I
It
mean,
was,
you know,
it's a
lawyers
little
should-
sidebar way down in there,
Yeah.
and then we finally find out and go, okay, well, what's going on with the sewer cap? Well, it's a thing that runs underneath your driveway in your entire yard, and they can go in if there's a problem and just do whatever they need to get to it, which I was like, at that point, I'm like, okay, that's fine, I got a sewer cap in the yard, I can find a way to work around it, that's not a problem. Now, you guys have seen the video of the water coming down my hill, and I had to, if I didn't, after that fact, the amount of mud that entered into the street after that, I had to basically try and find my own solution and put at least another $4,000 into my yard just to try and keep it from overflowing into the street, because everybody sees it coming from my yard and they're going, his yard's putting all this mud in the street.
Yep.
And that's how Gallo was
So the
approaching
street
it.
is filling up with mud, okay.
And
Melissa?
I just wanted to address Mr. Reagan's point that there have been consistent issues
really
with the
wonderful
drainage and the roadway. And the street was just paved last summer.
Mhm.
So it is in good shape right now. But you will notice, and I think Gallo has kind of refused to accept responsibility because it's not on the piece of the street that he owns, it's down further on the curve. The catch basins sink into the ground. They degrade completely. We had a rainstorm, which is what I think resulted in them paving it, that dug gullies in the street. And that was a significant rainstorm, but I don't think a significant rainstorm should result in side gullies. We had basically speed bumps on the road that the highway department did a wonderful job coming in and fixing it and making it better, but those problems are going to continue to happen because the runoff is significant. The water goes right over the catch basins. It comes down that hill so fast and so intensely, and I've got videos and videos and videos of this happening for years. I will say on our side, it has gotten slightly better with the silt coming with it as the yards have been established. But Jason doesn't have that luxury because he can't establish a yard because it keeps washing away. And so the silt remains and it's just pouring off the hill when it rains.
I mean,
So, let me ask you all a question. How many of you got your home inspected before you bought it?
We did.
but how's he supposed to know about that? I mean, even just from the last video, you guys saw the grainy video that we brought in that's all just silt. Even though I have my yard's grass, the hill's grass, I put in arborvitaes, mulch, it basically just dug underneath it, undermined everything money I put into that.
Washed it
And
over.
it's just that's all that silt is coming out from underneath my arborvitaes, and it's plowing down my hill. I mean, you could see I kind of made like my own huge catch basin in my yard to try and prevent it from going into the street the way it did before. And you look at it, it's just a big brown, yellow mix coming down my hill at an enormous rate of volume of water that's coming down there.
It looks like, from when I've been up there a few times, it looks like there's a lot of water from a lot of places being directed onto the next property. It's like it just cascades down. Goes from here to here, and the last guy gets it, and it's in a whole bunch of different ways and directions. The front steps on the house are already crooked. They set them on top of that just moved earth with a thin layer of pea stone, set them, and they go away, and there's probably 2 sets of steps that even come near being a little level. I mean, it's just a shoddy job in every single thing
Yeah.
that they've ever done.
Well, like I said, I think we need to sit down and
I think Caleb
just get
has
some
the-
clarification.
I think Caleb has the ability, I may be wrong, I may be speaking out of school, has the ability to shut down any more development up there.
I mean,
Do we know if that's the case?
Not exactly, a town engineer does. So you're close.
Okay.
I don't know if Bill can do that or not, but,
Industrial, work stop water.
You can?
That's,
no, is that all clay up there,
Authority.
Ronnie?
Huh?
Is that all
Yeah.
clay up there?
All
Yes,
clay.
All clay.
Back in 58 or 60s, I forgot what it was, when Kamasi stopped on Briar Cliff, right where the last house was, they just didn't go any further because no one just knew how to deal with the water, and it was just
That
clay,
was
and it wasn't where,
Right here.
yeah, where Mary Kamasi's house was.
So you have
Oh, I'm
some
sorry,
springs
further
on both
down.
Yeah.
sides,
On the
right?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it basically comes out of my hill at some point
It
because
just sweeps
it
it.
all washes back. The way it's constructed, like you said, it all just flows down. There's no breaks in the water coming down. It all ends up in his backyard, and his
Well,
backyard is a bowl, basically.
What's happened in the past month is that the water's coming down, as you said, cascading down, sitting here. You know, it does eventually pour through here
But it seeps
into these yards, but it's created almost like a swamp-like area in here. And now we're getting a sinkhole here. If you look at this hill from the side, it's opening up, and I assume it's going to get worse over time.
It's a clay hill, so it doesn't
Yeah.
absorb any water.
Any water, right, right.
It's gonna run on top
I mean-
of the clay layer and wash everything off on top of it.
I looked at it and I said, I'm not sure what, I parked up there several times and looked and I said, what would you do here, even before he built any of the houses? Would you level it and put in sub-drains and, you know, almost like catch basins within, but you can't do that, so it's almost to some degree where you don't build because you can't do it right.
Do any of your homes have sub-drains? Foundation drains?
French
You
drains.
know?
They all have, or I know that the water that comes off the roof goes down and out to the street, but nothing that's like seeping.
Does it go underground to the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it connects into the sewer pipe that runs out to the street.
I hope you didn't say sewer.
I don't know. I literally don't know. I mean, I saw him putting, you know.
Ours goes
Well, I wouldn't
right
put
out
it past
here.
it.
Like
If they go
there's
to
a
the
pipe
sewer,
in
which
our.
is totally illegal.
There's a pipe that goes down from your house
Yes.
underground.
Underground.
Yes, and then it pours out literally right there.
Oh,
On
onto
the
the
street.
ground, back
No.
Into the
on,
ground. Yeah.
on top of it?
Yes.
It doesn't go underground.
No. These guys have one that pokes out this hill and it's pouring.
And it's
out.
not going anywhere because it will not absorb water.
So my yard, even in the winter, is whatever water sits in the backyard, and you know, basically whatever doesn't drain out that hole seeps
Freezes.
into my hill and goes
And then
straight
comes
down.
down.
This is what
Yeah.
one part of my yard looks like during the winter, and it starts out small and it just keeps growing and growing. I mean, this is literally 10
Yeah.
feet wide
It's like
at the
somebody
base
leaving
of
a
my
fountain
hill.
on in the winter. It just
Yeah.
keeps getting bigger. and
My
bigger.
my hill sounds like a percolator when it rains really heavy. The next you're out there at night and you hear my hill going.
Well, and
it sounds like
that is all the what I call lagoons. All that water is coming down, and that's what he's.
When you say those lagoons, you mean, are those like little ponds that Gallo bulldozed
Yes.
out?
Yeah.
Just to let water sit in for a
Yes.
temporary
Exactly.
relief that, you know, all it does is take their capacity and then the rest just keeps coming out.
Yeah.
All right.
And so all I would ask that you take into consideration is that when we brought this up in 2014, the board did get involved. They did try to mitigate a solution. I believe you were told that the solution was going to work by creating swales that would move the water out. It's obvious that that didn't work. In fact, they removed the swale.
The swale has to go somewhere productive.
Right.
Number one.
Yep.
Riprap does not stop the water, it just stops the force of the water.
The riprap has since been removed.
Yeah, the riprap is
Right, but
gone.
that just compounds the problem. I mean, you're not gonna get any less water, but you get less force with the water, and it's a soil stabilizer. We just compounded the problem. So now, if you have riprap at the bottom of a slope, and you have water coming down the slope, and it hits the riprap, it slows the water down, doesn't get rid of the water, but it slows it down, so you're not getting that bull rush of water through your yard. And that helps keep the erosion down. But I don't know what kind of warranty you got on on your houses or anything, but I think we need to have a discussion.
Yeah, at least for our own clarification.
Absolutely.
Um,
And one point of order, it's not Reagan, it's Regan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, in my,
Reagan is REA.
this is the newest hole. I mean, you can see the arborvitae's. This is the newest hole that's opened up in my yard. And if you look at the size of the stone it's next to, the stone's probably about that big. I mean, and then it's deep. When you go into, this is another picture I have of it, which is kind of hard to see, but I mean, you can see, and it tunnels out
I would,
Tunnels out.
underneath my hill to a different part of the hill. And that's happening now at the top of the hill.
do you know where it comes out from that hole?
Yeah, there's another, hold on, I got,
Are you positive that's where that
yeah,
water goes? It's not going somewhere else?
I've seen some, I'm not positive that it comes out exactly in the spot where I think it does, but I know that right now it's pretty aggressive.
Spring hasn't
It's-
helped with any of this.
Oh, no, but it's, neither's a tough
Yeah.
winter with a lot of
Right.
melting. It's
Yeah.
gonna be the same thing. I mean, it's
It's
just.
really
it's
every
worse.
spring we go through this. It's just that he actually lives there now. That's why we're having these issues, because prior to that, the water would come down and it would cascade over. Now it comes down and it's not cascading over, it's building up, and then it's finding that outlet right there, which is the low point.
It's really branches
Yeah.
to this.
And with it all sitting
Right.
here, it seems to be
Right.
absorbing into the
Yeah, it's
ground
problem.
and then poking out through here, wherever it can find path of least
That's
resistance.
If we could, if you could get that development, you know, in a summer like this, if it cleaned up and everything was loomed and seeded, and you got it all loomed and seeded and all somehow blended to the best you could get, it would greatly help, because you wouldn't have the flow of water with the silt in it, you know, and more power and everything going down. The grass and everything would help to slow it down, and once it got rooted in, it would help it a little. But there's not. When you just look at it, there's almost not a lot of solution there.
Well,
Because
this is very old too. This is,
Yeah, that's-
this is completely green.
Right.
I
That's the
wouldn't
when you
say
come
it-
straight up Briarcliff and come
Yeah.
around the loop
Yeah.
at the top, and then you come back around where the lighter is and start to go down.
And I mean, we did, came in, had it, everything hydro seeded, the grass is growing in, and even with all that now, that it's not like the hill was bare naked, you know, I mean, it has grass, and then the existing, scrub grass and weeds or whatever else is on the hill, so I mean, that was all existing before we came in here, and even, so now that was, you know, let it grow in, it was already there. And then it's now, I mean, it's a channel that deep in some spots where the water is cutting through the existing
Land.
land that I never touched before, and it's been there
I could see some.
forever, you know? And I get washout, it comes down, and now I have scree that's, I mean, this is the channel, but the channel's not enough half the time anymore, even though it's that deep, and I got rocks that spread out like 3 to 4 feet on either side of that channel. I mean, pretty much all the way down.
And none of you have water in your basements. That blows my mind.
Because it all ends up in the street.
Well, even so, I mean,
I mean,
I don't know what kind of pipe you put off the roof drains out, and you said it connects to a pipe.
well, I have one that pumps out into my, like, it comes out underneath, and you see a little gravel area where there's a pipe that sticks out here. So I think that's just kind of draining out into that might be where they have everything from the roof drain pumping out.
Is it a black pipe? The ribs?
I can't say for sure, I haven't seen it, you know, I just know they buried a pipe underneath where the rocks are. I mean, I could dig it out and let you know.
No, I was just curious.
We don't get any water in our basement
Yeah.
because we patented a seal. It's a metal cap seal. So don't infringe on that.
But I know the pipe that comes off of Nick's yard, his neighbor's yard, is a white pipe that just sticks out of the hill.
Yeah.
It's a white PVC pipe that sticks out of the hill and just pours, water comes out of it.
I don't know if you can do that.
So I think,
I was told that was removed when they finished the
Nope.
property next to
That's
ours
still there.
because it wasn't
I see water
allowed.
still coming out of it.
And I honestly didn't know it was still there until.
Oh, yeah,
you
it's
mentioned that
there.
It was still there.
I think it's time to talk to all your neighbors, find out who's having problems, and like they said, this might be a civil issue, but there are also some things we want to further discuss and
Investigate.
explore and investigate.
I would investigate a lawyer for class action suit if you get enough of your neighbors.
I mean, do I get a civil engineer out there?
If you go to a class action suit and you get a lawyer
They're gonna do that.
they'll take care of that. And at the end of the lawsuit, I believe, if you win, which I think you probably would, he would have to pay for everything.
I mean, my wife, we just moved here a year and a half ago, and she's all ready to, and we love the area, love our neighbors, but she's ready to
Well,
see you later.
It's tragic.
Already,
It is
Yeah.
tragic.
yeah,
you know,
It's a
and we
shame.
love I mean, we love the neighbors, and like I said, the surrounding area. Auburn's awesome. But this,
Yeah, I think the problem is, nobody has an issue.
except for downhill where we are,
Until you get to the pond.
his yard, my yard, Sean's yard.
If you go up the hill,
But it goes downhill all the way to the next
But they don't
street,
care. Well, I'm gonna just say, in our neighborhood, everybody that's uphill, it
So,
doesn't matter. It's
these
just,
guys had
you know,
no
the
problem
sh
'cause the
rolls
water's going
downhill,
this way.
and that's where we
These guys
are.
had no problem because the water's going that way. Well, I still think they're going to have a problem because, or they'll have the problem, or sadly, Jason will end up with the problem. And Sean, who's not here, you know, that's a property where I've seen rivers run into.
He's a low point.
Yes. And if we go, you know, it's like a daisy chain of,
Yep.
Mhm.
No, I understand.
well, it still would behoove you to talk to
It's a
all of
snowball
them,
effect.
because if, there might be some unknowns that, you don't realize is going on.
yeah.
If it's,
Um,
I think if it's a class action suit and you win, you don't pay the lawyer, he does.
But at that point, with the class action suit, does he just fix the problem, or do I get reimbursed for having to put in thousands of dollars more to try and fix his problem, which
I think that's
Oh,
the
that's
big
it.
I can't
difference.
tell you what a judge
Yeah.
will
Yeah, I
say.
know,
Yeah, that's
I'm just
a,
saying,
yeah,
probably something that
it's-
you would
I would say.
That's above our
you
pay
either
grade.
have to-
Yeah.
Yeah.
You either have to fix it, or you have
Play one
to
on TV.
give you the money to have somebody fix it.
Yeah, because I mean, my yard's a bowl now there. Instead of being a nice flat yard, it goes back and basically does this so that I can catch everything.
I'll tell you, ironically, we bought our house partly because we thought we could make a hockey rink in the backyard. It was so
Now
flat.
you got a waterfall.
Probably good.
Was
Open
the
up.
easement spelled out in your deed?
If, yeah, it is, I mean, but I felt like when we're initially looking at the property, that's probably something that you should bring up. You know, that should be forthcoming. It's kind of like they just put it way in the back. I know it's,
That'd be another avenue I'd travel.
you know, because that's not something that the real estate agent brought up. The
Closing-
one
yeah,
for
closing-
The real
Gallo,
estate agent probably didn't even know.
And the
Yeah.
real estate does not know it's going.
You know,
Closing attorney wouldn't know
and-
the title search.
Right.
they were having problems with us going on the property again. You know, they're like, hey, this is our property, don't trespass.
While they were building your
While
house?
they're building my house, and we already put the deposit down and all that other stuff. They're like, this is our property.
I hate to say it, but that should have been your first sign. Something that wasn't kosher, because usually when a builder's building, if you let them know you want to come, because
welcome you.
there's safety issues.
Mm-hmm.
They'll show you around the house, what they're doing, how you're doing, is this the way you want it, blah, blah, blah. That's usually what happens, not, you can't come on the property because we still own it. You kept saying privately owned property. The minute he bought all that, doesn't matter if you own it or not, it's privately owned. He owns it.
Well, I know, I got a lawyer from Fletcher Tilton, a letter from Fletcher Tilton, saying that I wasn't allowed to go on properties and film lagoons anymore.
If you do it from the street, they can't stop you.
And in hindsight, a drone would be a nice thing to have.
Absolutely.
I mean, I saw a huge problem when they were building, I'm here, this is my neighbor's property here, they were building a brand new one right off to the side over there. And the amount of water they were getting, they already put the foundation in and they were having huge problems. They were digging out, I mean, huge, like cubic yards of dirt, trying to see what's going on. I mean, it was just filling up and filling up and filling up, and they had no clue what was going on.
So should we come back to the next meeting?
Or.
What I would
do we-
suggest is to touch in with Adam, once we've had an opportunity, like I say, to do what we feel like we need
Yeah.
to talk about. And he'll let you know going forward.
Okay. Thank you very much for your
Thank you all
time.
for your
Oh, you're
time, I
welcome.
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
folks.
I mean, we'd do anything we could, but
I know
it's
that.
very limited.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
can't do it.
That's why we're here, we know that, and
Yeah.
we appreciate everything that you
Yeah,
guys have
I
offered.
mean, I have no other outlet. And unfortunately, you guys take the brunt of it, you know, so.
We're all right, that's, we signed
Yeah.
up
That's
for
what
the
we're here
deal.
for,
Yeah.
but we don't take offense to it at all. We
Right.
understand
Be on
your
the Christmas
concerns,
card.
and rightfully so.
Yeah, I just, I'm just at a loss, and my wife is more patient than I am, and for her to be ready to just pack up and leave already, I mean, that's, we lived in Springfield for all of our lives, and then to move from Springfield, come here and then be like, okay, well, I'm already ready to go back to Springfield because,
Yeah.
what's going on with this, and I'd never bought a brand new house before, especially with the conditions like that. I have a 104-year-old house in Springfield that I've never had any problems with. I'm already ready to go back, kick my
Yeah.
tenants out, and move back to
Yeah.
Springfield. So,
Is that a power line
All
strip
right.
there?
Yes.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
thank you for your patience
All right.
Oh,
and
you're welcome.
Good
your
night.
time.
Very well.
Thank you so much.
So, move to we have a signature for 203 South Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Lost.
yes.
Oh,
Well, I'll say
you
something.
figure, yeah, it's-
Yeah.
have to stuff.
And then we have minutes from, everybody get a chance to read the minutes in their packets?
Can I make a motion?
Yes, you sure can.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Of 4-9, yes. And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the meeting minutes of 4:23, I submitted mine with just a minor correction. Anybody else?
I make the motion to submit to approve the minutes as noted.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Oh, wait, wait.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I get a pen.
So I think
Adam
it's, I think
Ashworth
it's,
Hill coming? No.
no.
Is that Webster 5?
Covering note, there's the town council just reviewing the data, just to get all more information. Hopefully we'll
I
have
think it
something.
was good advice to tell them that it is a civil matter. But I'm hoping that there may be something that we could put
Some relief.
teeth into too.
At least
and
like
maybe,
Scott's opinion on it.
as Bill,
Like Scott's opinion on
John
it.
referred to as
Scott,
Bill,
I'd
and
like his opinion on it.
opportunity to stop work or,
But it's not an insurmountable problem at all. That's the problem.
yeah,
It can be fixed.
yeah. So, well, like I say, I hope we could at least sit down and review the bond and talk about that and
Had he done
maybe
that
going
right,
forward, we reconsider certain aspects when we require a bond on a project.
That's something I want to review anyways, because I
Oh.
haven't got, all I've been here, I haven't gone through it. I don't know when it was last.
Yeah, I
reviewed.
think, some of the things that have come across, we've had opportunity to, take a closer look and see what positive changes we can affect going forward, and I think that's really what's important.
there's approximately 20 homes in that development, correct? Roughly?
That upper section.
Yeah.
The upper section. That's the section with the problems. Had he done this right, that could have been split 20 ways, and no one would have blinked an eye, and no one would have a water problem.
Yeah. Well, that's the shame of it, isn't it?
Yep.
Nick, did you want to say something?
No, I mean, I think, your point is well made when it comes to, future bonds, that sort of thing. I think you use this as an example of how to probably not do the bond in order to have some type of protection for the residents, especially when you think about all that we do on a bi-weekly basis too. It seems like that's the goal, right?
Mhm.
So,
Right.
I will add, we're working internally on stormwater regulations.
Yeah.
There's new permitting that's
Oh,
coming through
yeah.
from the feds, that there's gonna be new stormwater regs, so
Yeah.
that will have an impact on future development.
That's good to hear.
I mean, it's not like it's
Pretty
going
strict
to
regs, too.
I think we should be doing everything we can in all instances. Part of what we do is to protect the people that come here.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Whatever applicants.
live here and, yeah.
Because you got some unsuspecting young couple like that that doesn't know, and they go there and looking, oh wow, up on a hill, nice view, looking at it. They buy it, you know, they didn't even seem aware, a couple of them, on certain things that were on their deeds, like they found out after the fact.
Yeah, that's also,
Okay, and
yeah.
that lawyer
Yeah,
and title
that's-
report should send that to you instantly.
Right, right.
But, how did you make out, Adam, with Bill and, the town council on the earth fill?
He's reviewing it, town council's reviewing it.
What's that in regards to?
On
The earth fill
Ashworth.
in Ashworth.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna review with, Hennigan to see.
Material?
Yeah.
Well, because it's, you know, I went up there a week ago, and in 31 minutes, there was 9 trucks, 9 trailer dumps came in, filled up, and were gone. Came and left within
9 of them in 30
in
minutes.
31 minutes.
Didn't they say that
And-
truck traffic wouldn't be that bad when they came
Yeah,
in here?
oh yeah, that's what I recall.
It's a gravel pit. They're processing it to whatever brings the most value, and it's just sitting there, and they're going all day, and they just keep dumping in the hopper, and then it just keeps going.
And how many cubic feet did each one of those trucks hold? Do
Those
you know,
trailer dumps,
approximately?
those are probably...
Trailer dumps, 26 yards.
Well, they're not the big ones. Well, they probably got 25 yards in them.
Triaxle hold 24, 25.
There was like
Flatbed.
triaxles, and then there was some trailer dumps. They weren't the long trailer dumps, but they were fair size. But they were just nonstop, and it was just, and they could have been going, they could have stopped processing the gravel and gone.
I think so.
John Blaker would like it if he was here, huh, Dick?
Wendy, let me continue that one.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah,
I'll
we
look.
need to make a motion to continue the Massett Family LLC modification of site plan approval to July 23rd, 2019.
July 23rd.
Yeah,
Right?
that, yes, that was continued back in October, October 30th, because of the road situation. We just abate that, so there's still some internal
That's been
workings on
accepted though,
that.
right? And
It's
approved?
not, it's been approved at the state level, but in the town, it has to be appraised, it has to be
Appraised and-
go out for the combine, so there's still some internal workings that have to happen.
Oh,
Open by July, it'll be complete.
So
okay,
entertain a
so
motion.
between now and July,
Mhm.
we're gonna be using the old Faith Ave.
Yeah.
I would recommend not giving them anything till they fix Faith Ave.
I-
There's holes this deep in that road where we have to travel.
And they'll say it's the town's.
Well, they've got it down to a lane and a half.
I don't know, I haven't been out there recently, I haven't
It's,
seen it, I just,
it's a mess,
I know they're working, but
yeah. But I mean, it'd take much to bring a loader down the street and backblade the hole and throw some new.
Looking for a motion to continue to July 23rd.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That Norman helped.
Thank you.